I'm Lior Phillips, host of This Must Be the Gig. We're a weekly podcast that documents everything about the world of live music, speaking with choreographers, costume and set designers, the people who run beloved venues and festivals, and, of course, speaking with musicians about that one gig that changed their lives. Get your peek behind the curtain at consequenceofsound.net, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Consequence Podcast Network.
Welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith With. It's an audio interview series presented by WFPK Independent Louisville at WFPK.org, Consequence of Sound, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening from right now so you can keep up with these interviews. We do put out multiple ones every single week. I'm Kyle Meredith. Today my guest, Michael McDonald. He is back with a brand new record of originals. It's called Wide Open. We're going to talk about the themes that find its way into the record, especially aging, the story behind the song he wrote called Hail Mary, and Strong Enough. He's got Warren Haynes playing guitar on there, so I get to geek out a little about that as well. We're also going to talk about the upcoming Christmas album, get a little tease of that. It's called Season of Peace. It's a compilation, and then he gives us a little hint on the 40th anniversary of the Doobie Brothers Minute by Minute, which of course spurred that huge monster hit, What a Fool Believes. Will there be a chance to play that one with the old gang? You got to listen. It's Kyle Meredith with Michael McDonald.
Hey, Kyle. How are you?
Pleasure to talk to you.
Same here, Kyle.
I'll start off saying we're excited to have you here in Louisville. Touring behind the new record, too, I guess. That's still what this tour is, right? Behind Wide Open?
Yeah, pretty much. We're just kind of introduced some of the new stuff into the set, which for us was kind of a godsend in a way because we've been kind of starving for some new material as a band, to play. And it seems like the audience has gotten to a point where they kind of recognize it a little bit, at least, the diehard fans do. And so it's been fun to, kind of get that reaction, play the new stuff.
I mean, to go that long, it's quite the drought to have something new in the set.
Yeah, it has been a while for sure. We did a couple of three Motown records, in between there. So that kept us pretty busy, and we toured behind that. But, this is the first album of original material in at least 10 years. I know that, so it's been kind of fun. It was also like going back to work, with the Motown records. It was more fun than work, really, So this was kind of like pulling my own teeth out, But,
It made for a great record, though. And I do want to talk about a few of the songs on here as well, because, right from the beginning with Hail Mary, I know there's a lot of co-writes on the record, and I think I read that was the one, solely that you wrote.
Yeah, that song was kind of, coming from a more personal place, even though I kind of set up the scenario in a different, something I thought that people might, readily understand better, I guess. But the man-woman scenario. But it really is just about the personal feelings of being at that point and where you kind of feel like you want to run it into the end zone one more time, but you wonder if time has passed you by, kind of a thing. And, which I think most people at my age never really are too aware when they're younger what it's going to feel like when you get 66. You think you're going to be in a diaper on the couch watching television, falling asleep. But you come to find out that you're still alive. And so what do you do with that?
Well, I mean that's the nice double play of that even title right there, because Hail Mary, on one hand, is a prayer. It's a very famous prayer. On the other hand, it's almost a desperation, last-ditch attempt, as we know it in the sports term. And it's interesting how, depending on how you view that phrase is sort of also how you hear that song.
Right. And the latter is really kind of how I meant it was, what do I do to feel like, I'm being heard by whoever, one more time, and just not to, I think, when you get to be our age, you kind of second guess yourself anyway, that's the funny thing about, experience gives you a certain kind of confidence, but it also gives you a certain room to second guess yourself, and so I think you always have to kind of somehow find a way to resolve those two conflicting, instincts. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of that about this record too. I've heard you talk about, if there's a loose theme towards all the songs, it's sort of about coming out the other side in a way.
Yeah, I think so. Acceptance is a big part of it. The record for me is learning the art of acceptance and finding that most of the bigger victories in life are just ones of surrender. That come through surrender and just accepting life on life's terms. More than conquering anything. That's really the kind of foundation for any real joy or peace in living. Is for me has been one more of just accepting the truth as it comes along, and not fighting it, not trying to create my own reality.
And I also want to bring up, by the way, more just compliments here. The follow-up song to that, Just Strong Enough. Who's doing the guitar solo on that one?
Well, two guys, Warren Haynes and Robin Ford, both played the guitar on that.
Yeah. I thought that might have been Warren Haynes. That's you two sound great. I mean, those styles mix so well with what the two of you were doing.
Oh, thank you. I love both those guys dearly, and it was funny in a way because when we cut the track, we cut it just for initially piano, bass, and drums, which I wish we had cut it with the guitars because I think we might have even it might have been a little even more track from the inception because it was cut more or less as a trio, So the energy. We approached it from a certain point, energy point, and now when we play it live, it's it's a little more powerful arrangement, I think, live because the guitar is in it, from the get-go. But hindsight's 20/20. But I love the song. It's a song I wrote with Gary Nicholson.
Now, with this, momentum with the new music, and there's definitely some renewed interest in what you're doing in the public eye. I mean, is there a spark to get more music out there more often at this point?
Yeah, I'm already been recording a little bit, but I've kind of always done that anyway. I just haven't really been all that adept at getting a whole project done, and I hope I do better with that this time. I'm always demoing things, and a lot of these things were songs I demoed during the Motown projects. But hopefully I'll do a better job of getting to the finish line with the next record, and get it out in a more timely fashion.
Kind of curious, with the content that you're talking about on this record. I know that you're politically minded too. I know immigration's been a lot on your mind as you talk about online. Do you find that stuff comes up in your songwriting at all, especially now?
I've never been one from writing, political songs. I mean, I have in the past, and even Taking to the Streets was kind of from that viewpoint of the plight of economic disparity in this country and inner city. So and just the fact that there's so many people that seem to be unheard, and that unfortunately we don't, as Americans, all the time look at or listen to what other people are saying and how they're describing their plight. We tend to get defensive about it. And like in this country with Black Lives Matter, you immediately get the reaction, well, white lives matter too. Well, no one said white lives didn't matter. It's just it's somebody trying to send a message that should be heard and should be listened to with some kind of and not welcomed with immediate disdain, because it's a real situation, and we have to do better by each other. It will only make us a stronger country if we do that. We can't be America and cater to one race, religion, or political ideology of people. We have to really be an open society that does actually give the rights guaranteed by the Constitution to all people. And I wish as a country we did better in listening to each other before we get defensive. It seems like right now we are in an atmosphere of continuing divisiveness. That kind of like 1984. The George Orwell
right.
book. Just that divisiveness being a political tool seems to be what this administration is all about, and it's going to blow up in our face. It's going to weaken America. It's not going to make America great again. That's for sure.
And it's beautifully said, which I wholeheartedly agree. I'm going to awkwardly tie that in to sort of your upcoming release too. You've got a Christmas record coming out. This seems to be one of the, musically the things that, a lot of people can at least come together on a bit, and Season of Peace, the Christmas collection. What brings you back to this style over and over again? Because you've had a lot of success with it.
I enjoy doing Christmas music. I've enjoyed writing a certain portion of it. We were lucky with our first Christmas album that we were kind of given the green light to write a lot of the music, and we did a gospel Christmas album, but and that was so much fun, and so many great musicians on it. So this is a compilation of that first album, the second album we did for Hallmark, and just some new track that we cut this year. But I love going out playing that time of year. It's a little more difficult travel-wise sometimes, but the people that come out that time of year are already in the mood, Christmas spirit, and it's a time of year where you see people kind of forget their differences and remember that just being kind to each other is as close as we get to doing what God wants us to do, and whoever you call God, we all have this one thing in common, and that is we believe there's one God, and that God made us all, And I think that's enough common ground for all of us to start treating each other better. It's too bad we only seem to remember that at Christmas time sometimes.
Luckily, you're out there kind of waving that flag, which is really important. I mean, you have a very diverse fan base from lots of different generations, and I know that could be part of the divide right there to be kind of bringing folks together as best you can with music like this. It goes a long way. It definitely does.
We do a song at the end in our encore most nights by Marvin Gaye, What's Going On. It's always an opportunity for me to just to mention that what this song is it's a prayer for peace that was was relevant in the '60s certainly, but it's even more relevant today. And the question that it begs is certainly more relevant today than it's ever been. And that is what's going on. Why don't we stop and really look at this? Because we might see it differently if we actually gave it some thought.
I'll wrap up one more question here, too, because I also noticed December 1st marks the 40th anniversary of Minute by Minute. And the Doobies are out there with, both your bands are on tour together, both your old bands with Steely Dan and the Doobies playing together. And I kind of wondered if you guys thought that anything might happen with the celebrations. Have you thought about that?
I talk to Pat quite a bit, and it's come up in our conversations, and I always let them know that I'm willing and able, and I love playing with those guys. It's for me, it's a chance to catch up, and I feel like it's one of the best parts of my life is being a Doobie Brother, and I think once you're a Doobie Brother, you're kind of always a Doobie Brother in a way, and getting to take the stage with Donald in recent years is something I never dreamed I would have done when we were all 20 something, and playing together back in the early 70s. If you would have asked me, do you think you'll be on stage with these guys when you're in your 60s, I would have said probably not, But so it's a real gift, that I don't take lightly. So I don't know that anything's planned or if anybody's going to suggest it, but now that you mention it, I might suggest it to see run it up the flagpole or something.
That would be amazing. Michael McDonald, it's been so great talking to you today. I really appreciate this.
Same here, Kyle. Thanks so much.
Yeah, and we'll see you on the 14th, Iroquois Amphitheater here in Louisville. Until then, take care, sir.
Great. Thanks, man. Take care.
Bye. Hey, big thanks to Michael McDonald for the call. Again, his new record is called Wide Open, and the upcoming Christmas album, Season of Peace. If you haven't already, please do hit the subscribe button right now so you can keep up with this series. Whether you're listening at YouTube or if you're checking out the podcast version at iTunes or Podchaser, subscribe, give it a rating, leave a review. Then you head over to WFPK.org. That's where you hear me do a show every Monday through Thursday from noon to 3 Eastern, where we've also got some bonus episodes of this series. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.
Consequence Podcast Network.